Edgy script with lots of action? Check. Cast chock-a-block full of established and up-and-coming actors? Check. Reasonable budget? Check. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing, as we're about to show you, as we prove that Smokin Aces is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies. Now, if you've listened to the past few episodes, you may have noticed that there's been a voice missing, and trust me, she's the better half of the two of us, but she's back and ready to rock it. My lovely wife, Carrie, is here once again. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, and it's so good to be back to the land of the living.
Well, now that we have the better part of the show back on to the record here,
you would think I was paying you.
Well, you know, I mean, I got to make the money somehow.
Do you get paid for this?
Not a dime, which is why I have to compliment you as much as possible, because I gotta rake it in as much as I can here.
How can I get paid for this? I was starting to think I was getting fired.
Well, you see, every time you say that I'm right, you get a little bit of that money back. So you see how this works now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, no, I do appreciate each and every one of the past interviewees who sat in the hot seat with you because I had all but lost my voice. I had the 3 week cold from hell.
Just lingering cough, which, by the way, does lead to sexy blues singer voice, so I'm kind of down with that.
Oh, yeah, I totally had, like, deep, sexy, like...
Would you like a cup of tea?
I don't know if it was deep and sexy or if it was like that voice box guy on South Park.
Would you like to do a podcast?
That's a little more accurate to how I sounded.
We have devolved already, and we haven't even got to the trailer eyes here. But today's movie, I'm really excited about this. So when I mentioned Smokin Aces, and we were going to go down this road, it's been a while since we had seen this movie, but how stoked were you for jumping back onto this film?
Oh my God. Okay. Can I go there? Can I hit the ground running right away? I loved the lineup of actors. I loved the concept. Like, I can't believe we're sitting here talking about this movie. For shame, critics.
Yeah, I mean, like, full disclosure, this is going to be a very biased episode because this is one of those movies that, we would watch like ad nauseum back in the day. But before we go down this road, before we tackle one of those movies that we loved and have watched over and over and over again, it is time to take Smokin Aces and trailerize it.
They say that whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But in Lake Tahoe, well, you're on your own. A cavalcade of hitmen and assassins are about to descend on one hotel to prove one thing: that high school cliques don't end after grade 12, and they're gunning for one man, Jeremy Piven. It's like the sequel to PCU we didn't know actually existed. Come to think of it, a wannabe mobster Vegas-style showman is exactly the kind of future Draws would have. Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong. Will the FBI save their snitch before the mob finishes him off? It's Smokin Aces, rated R, for Reno. Would have been a better vacation.
I mean, truly, tell me I'm wrong that Draws, the character that Jeremy Piven played in PCU, ending up like a Vegas showman, wannabe gangster, mobster kind of thing. Tell me that's not the natural progression of that character.
We're not gonna riot.
We're not gonna riot. Gutter is a tool.
Yeah, whatever happened to Gutter? Well, he went on to produce The Mandalorian. Actually.
Right? He went off to Disney Plus, and now he's got Hugo. Hugo is a tool. Hugo is a tool.
Gutter rose
Right? Oh, man. Now, the thing is, anyone who has seen both movies is now trying to picture it and probably agrees with us. So we're sorry you're on our wavelength. It's a scary place to be. But let's get into who is in this movie. The movie stars Jeremy Piven, Ben Affleck, Andy Garcia, Ryan Reynolds, Ray Liotta, Common, Alicia Keys, Taraji P. Henderson, Jason Bateman, Chris Pine, and there are so many more. Like, I could sit here and read the list of the entire cast, and it's like, holy crap, like everyone's in this film. However, there is an almost starring in this one here.
Who wasn't on the list?
According to IMDb, Michael Shannon, the guy who played General Zod in Man of Steel in the new Flash movie, was on the cast as one of the Nazi speed freaks. And again, according to IMDb, was fired for being rude to a costume designer. He was eventually replaced by Chris Pine.
Oh, wow.
Do not mess with the costume designers. Ever.
I think he was just in character, though, no?
Do not mess with the costume designers.
Probably taking his role too far.
They will stitch you in that costume and you will never get out. You're trying to picture that now. The film was written and directed by Joe Carnahan, probably most known for The A-Team and Boss Level. So there are some decent films in his filmography as both writer and director. This film is definitely one of those good ones, though, because there are some accolades. At the New York festivals, this film won the bronze medal for introduction and lead-in titles. At the Cognac Festival du Film Policier. Right? En français. Mais oui. Joe Carnahan won the International Critics Prize and the Special Jury Prize. And at the Casting Society of America Awards, this film won for Best Feature Action Horror Casting. Can't disagree. And I had to take a look who it beat out. Okay? These are the films that this movie beat out for Best Cast. Planet Terror, Death Proof, Superman Returns, and The Condemned.
That's fascinating to me. This movie, although has a stellar cast,
beat out both Planet Terror and Death Proof.
Wow.
And Superman Returns.
Well, okay.
And somehow The Condemned.
What's boggling my mind is basically the Grindhouse double feature.
Right? But remember, too, it's listed as two films. So it's not like you're taking the two and rolling them in one and taking that as one big ensemble cast. It's Planet Terror is one, Death Proof is the other. If you were looking at that as one film, then
it would be no contest. But
I don't know.
Wow. Oh, come on.
As an ensemble cast,
yeah,
this film definitely stands heads and tails above so many others.
But it wasn't exactly an ensemble cast. Everybody had their own part, their own chapter, I want to say.
Right, but
much the same.
It wasn't... Okay, let's take a look at Superman Returns for a second here. Yes, Brandon Routh was a phenomenal Superman. I don't care what anyone says. He actually was really good in the role. Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. Not as a real human being, but as Lex Luthor was actually really good. I didn't mind Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane. I didn't mind like everyone else in that cast, but it was like a couple of actors and then everyone else around them. This film, it's a solid all the way through ensemble cast, right? Everyone is almost on equal footing in this film. You don't get that very often.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
I mean, again, if you were looking at Grindhouse as one film instead of two, there's an argument there. But I think still this film stands out. And the other thing, too, is even if you took a look at Grindhouse as one film, you have a cast in half the film and cast in the other half of the film. And it's kind of like, okay, maybe not.
True. And the Machete
and that's
trailer,
the thing, too.
I guess.
Well, there's the thing. If you take Grindhouse as one film, do you add all the trailers that were in between the two films? Right? Then it's an insane cast. But I mean, that's like saying movie 43 had a good ensemble cast. And not only does it have a good cast, but money-wise, this film was tight for budget here. This film has a budget of $17 million only. Only that cast, and you have a $17 million budget. Domestically, it grossed $35 million and worldwide made $52 million. And according to Wikipedia, the DVD release of this made another $35 million. So, yeah, this film made bank.
No. I'm sorry. The $17 million was actually the cleanup bill from the hotel casino that they completely trashed.
Yeah, the actors cost about $1 million, and then $16 million was done to clean up the hotel when they were done. When this film was released on the January 26th, 2007 weekend. Yeah, 2007, y'all. Do the math. 16 years ago. Doesn't feel that way. This film debuted at number 2 with only $14.5 million. The number 1 movie that week was Epic Movie with only $18.5 million. So it's not like it was that far off. Also debuting that week in number 5 was Catch and Release. That debuted with just over $7.5 million. So as far as new releases, A, I can't believe that Epic Movie beat this, but B, it proved not only later on, but also in the DVD market that this film had staying power. And that's the thing too, right? You get a film like this released in 2007, and it's going to have that aftermarket saleability. Physical media today, not so much. And it's a shame. Because this is definitely one of those films that we most likely rented at your Blockbuster or Rogers Video or wherever, and then went and bought it afterwards, kind of thing. And then, streaming, I'm sure you only get so much money, but still, this film has staying power. The critics, however, the critics suck. Over at Metacritic, this film has a Metascore of 45, and over at Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score is 62% only. The critic score is 30%. The what?
Come on now.
Now, to put this into perspective, there is another Smokin Aces film. Smokin Aces 2. It's actually a prequel to this one. At Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a higher tomatometer than the original. Smokin Aces 2 has a tomatometer of 44% compared to the 30% of the original. However, the audience score of the 2007 film, I said 62%. The audience score for Smokin Aces 2 is only 22%. So it's like the critics are like, oh, hey, we like this one better. And the audience is like, F you, the original is better.
All I can say is based on the concept of the movie, none of the hit men and women that they hired in the second one, which was the prequel, were successful, obviously.
Well, no, I did say Smokin Aces 2 is actually a prequel, but with completely different actors.
Oh, completely different actors and different concept, or?
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with Smokin Aces 1.
Oh, I just thought it was like the predecessor to this lineup of actors, and
no,
they missed him the first time.
Buddy Aces Israel is still alive somehow. Right. Enter the next round. No, just no.
No.
Are you shocked though of only 30% from the critics?
You know what though? Nothing shocks me since we've been starting this show. The critics are just harsh. I don't know, right? I mean, I get that their job is to find fault in movies. That's what they do. But really? I mean, I just don't understand the concept of not being able to accept and appreciate the movie as it is. Like, what? Do they want to go in and rewrite it to their liking, or I just don't understand the concept of like how they what is their criteria when they're grading.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm like, I tried to wrap my head around the critic mindset going into this, and I was reading some of the comments, and a lot of them were comparing this to Tarantino without that Tarantino wit.
And that is exactly the problem. That's on them. If they're going to go into this movie and start comparing it to a completely different directorial style, already they're setting themselves up for disappointment and disillusionment, because it's not.
Yeah.
It's a completely different director, completely different
Writing style.
script. Exactly. The screenplay is completely different.
Yeah.
And it's not even done in the Tarantino
Broken chronology kind of storytelling. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Tarantino has a style. Tarantino has a flair to his writing and a way that his films play out. You know, to watch a Tarantino film is to know a Tarantino film, and for you is to love a Tarantino film. However, that being said, if people are trying to rip off Tarantino, I get it. But this is also in that realm of a lot of movies that came out where it's like, it kind of has this kind of feel to it. Domino is one of those ones that I feel would probably get compared a lot to. You could also point to the Boondock Saints.
Yes, thank you. So when I said that this is almost like done in chapters, it is. It's almost kind of like a graphic novel done in, in a screenplay.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of movies like, I can't believe I'm going to make this comparison to a movie like Smokin Aces, but Rat Race, where you have these different groups and they're all at different parts of the race, and it kind of jumps back and forth between each of the groups, and occasionally they would meet up and all that. Or a movie like Time Code, which I still think was a fascinating way to do a movie, in that you had these 4 individual cameras going all at the same time, and occasionally the actors in those different cameras would intersect, but not always. And so you were watching 4 different stories. Here, you have a lot of different groups that are working towards a similar goal, but kind of going down their own path. But let's get to this here. And rather than go, actor by actor by actor, because they were kind of grouped together, I want to start, we will start at the top here with Ben Affleck, because he got top billing in this one here. But how was Ben Affleck as Jack Dupree for you?
Again, that was the first thing that I pointed out. I was like, how does Affleck have top billing when, okay, spoilers, right? He probably has the fastest demise of all of the characters.
Spoilers like a mofo here. I took a look at IMDb, and they listed it. Ben Affleck has 10 minutes of screen time in this film, and he has top billing on the poster.
It's all about the money. We don't care.
We've now gone full Jesse J in this one here.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that Ben Affleck in 2007, star is so high, right? Like, huge. Still riding off Good Will Hunting, still riding off. He's still a huge actor at this point. And in 2007, you could argue that his star is probably the brightest at that moment of everybody else. So yeah, I understand why you put him number 1 on the poster. But then it becomes even more of a shock when you realize, oh crap, he died.
Well, it was Jeremy Piven's movie, but the show was stolen by Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Ben Affleck. I know you could play the shark from Jaws, but
according to Kevin Smith,
top billing was not at all.
I have a feeling that probably led to, think about it, right? If you are like, okay, this movie's got this star and it's all good, and then 10 minutes 20 minutes into the film, you've only had 10 minutes of him, and it's like, oh, and by the way, he dead. You don't get him no more. It's like, it was like Halloween Resurrection, right? And you had Jamie Lee Curtis in like the beginning of the film, and she's on the poster front and center, and she's gone in like the first like 10, 15 minutes of the film, and then we never see her again. She's dead. She's gone. It was like a little prelude to the actual movie that they kind of tacked on at the beginning. I can see that kind of feeling a little bit like a bait and switch. The other thing too is you take a look at that trio, right? It's Ben Affleck, it's Peter Berg, and Martin Henderson. Okay. And again, warning, spoilers like a mofo here. Ben Affleck and Peter Berg are killed in the same scene. So we thought also Martin Henderson. Peter Berg, as an actor, maybe not the name that you first think of, but as a director, you're going to freak out because he was the director of Very Bad Things.
Nice.
So you have...
I can see that.
Right? You have an accomplished director and actor. You have Ben Affleck, who himself is an accomplished director and actor. And they're there for a short time. It's a good time, but not a long time.
Now, don't get me wrong, though. I'm not on Ben Affleck's performance in this movie.
Oh, God, no.
He was really great in the role that he was in. And I think his death was necessary.
I get that. Oh, I mean, everyone died for a reason when they died. By the way, again, please go watch Smokin Aces before you listen to the rest of the episode here, because we're going to spoil the hell out of this one. But again, I did mention that this film is 16 years old.
Even if you've seen it,
watch it again.
Watch it again.
Right?
Do it.
The thing is, there's a weight of expectation, right? Ben Affleck is on the poster. He's the first name listed. So you're a little surprised that they kill him off that early. I personally don't mind it. I'm like, ooh, I like the curveball, right? But can you imagine, like, going to see a movie like, all right, it's a Ben Affleck film, and he's dead. We got another hour and a half to go.
Yeah, but it so redeems itself.
Oh, it does. It does. But in talking about that group, though, let's talk about Martin Henderson, who played Hollis Elmore. He's the guy that survived the shooting and being dumped in the river and missing a bunch of his fingers, and then ends up at way wacko house in the middle of nowhere before finally making it back to the hotel.
With the kid.
Right. How was Martin Henderson for you?
Oh, my God. No, he was great. Like... I just felt so bad for him. I'm like, oh my God.
Right? And that's the thing. In Hollis, the character that he plays, it's like his entire demeanor through this whole thing, even before getting shot by the crazed speed punk Nazi type guys, is that it's almost like his job to look around with this gaze that can only be described as what the like everything's going on around him, and it's like his brain is like struggling to process how messed up every situation is, from when they meet the lawyer who's holed up in a hotel with what can only be described as some weird sexual warts on his face and a bunny helmet, to the Ritalin erection spewing kid that's in the whole kind of thing. It's like what's going on with this film, right? Like that's his expression, and he kind of feels like the audience.
Just promise me though, because I might have missed it. He didn't actually kill the grandma, did he?
No.
He just escaped the madhouse.
I think he's like, I'm going to borrow this gun, cocked it as a way of saying, don't try to stop me, because I am getting out of this house come hell or high water.
Okay, as long as Granny's okay, because she was just...
I don't think he had a problem with Granny. I think it was the kid. But since we're talking about them, Marianne Murley, and again, I do apologize if I mess up any names. I'm an idiot in a basement with a microphone and a lovely beer to drink, so bear with me here. Playing Maggie Turlock, and Zach Coomer as Warren. the kid with one eye clearly shot it with a BB gun, right?
Or he hit it with a nunchuck.
More than likely.
More than
yes.
likely.
How was that situation for you? Because this is where it went to crazy town.
He was that kid that Ralphie should have taken a lesson from. You're gonna shoot an eye out with that BB
gun. You have to understand, and they put this kid in the trailer a lot.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like
nice.
Like it wasn't like this was out of left field. You knew this kid was coming. Kid with like nunchucked eye out kind of thing, wearing a karate gi, and like, what you want to get? Don't look at me, man. Like,
yeah.
What the hell is wrong with this kid?
Great. Oh my God.
It's so out of left field. It's so wrong in so many ways, but really, it still kind of works.
Such a small part.
Right?
I mean, necessary, but such a small part.
But that's the thing. You have this small part, but the two of them together, not just Warren, the kid, but Maggie, the grandmother as well. Because there are things that, like, it's hard sometimes to hear what she's saying because Warren is so loud and so insane and draws the eye of the viewer. But the shit that she's saying, like, completely leads to Hollis's look of what the is going on.
Because she's just such an enabler. She's like, oh yeah, just kids being kids,
Yeah, it's like, oh, his father, got caught doing some bad stuff, kind of thing. Is in jail, It's like, what the hell? Like, go to IMDb and read some of the quotes of Maggie, okay? Because you're gonna sit there and go, if I was in a conversation and someone was talking like this to me, I personally would grab the nearest gun and get my way out of there too. But it's so out of left field. Like, and I am going to draw a Tarantino-esque comparison here. This is like that scene. I'm trying to figure out which scene it reminds me more of, and they're both in Pulp Fiction. So work with me on this one here. You got the Gimp. Okay. The whole Gimp scene and how it's just so what the is going on, right? And Hollis in that scene in that house with those two feels to me like Bruce Willis, when he's like, all right, I just got out and now I have a sword, and it's like I could leave or I could go in there and mess it up, right? It's that look of like, okay, what am I gonna do? Or it's the scene where you've got Jules and Vince sitting down at the diner with Honey Bunny and trying to talk them all down, kind of thing. Like, it's just so out there, and it's just so insanely intense in a weird way, but it's kind of cool.
I don't even know if it, like, I would say even more like Kill Bill, where, Uma Thurman is...
Are you about to compare Warren to Pai Mei?
Yeah, possibly. And then the kid comes home? No, it's nothing like that, actually, because, the kid was super sweet. She wasn't...
Yeah, no, this isn't a kid who needs Ritalin and starts karate chopping her way through everything here. No. Okay, let's get out of the madhouse here. Alicia Keys and Taraji P. Henson as Georgia Sykes and Charisse Waters, respectively. Keep in mind, this is Alicia Keys' cinematic debut. So going from singer to actor, this is her first acting role. So those two assassins, how were they for you?
They did amazing. However, especially if it was her first role, she absolutely owned it. Like, brilliant. But I do have to question how she got out of the hotel room. Did she just leave her rifle, set up, or did she pack it up and go? Like, because really all the attention was drawn on the action.
You must have fallen asleep again during that scene.
Where she got out?
Okay, no. Okay, so hear me out here, all right? So you've got Georgia is played by Alicia Keys, and her job is to dress all skanky and join the next wave of prostitutes that's being brought up to Buddy Israel's penthouse suite, and that's how she's going to get access, and that's how she's going to get them. Meanwhile, Charisse, as played by Taraji P. Henson, is in like the other tower across the parking lot with this huge, long, like massive rifle and basically providing long distance cover. And then everything goes down. Alicia Keys, it looks to Charisse that Georgia was shot because she sees one of the dead hookers, but it's not actually Georgia. But of course, from that long distance, you're just looking through a sniper scope, and all you see is dead hoe on the ground.
Right.
Right. She instantly thinks. Now, meanwhile, Georgia and Common, as Buddy Israel's security guy, find themselves in a stairwell trying to get out of the building.
Yeah, no, she gets carried out, that part.
Exactly.
But how does Charisse get out of the hotel?
She doesn't. There's this scene where she sees Georgia in the parking lot with Common, and Common's helping her out, kind of thing. And she's crying because she loves Georgia.
Yeah, and she shoots everything up.
Right. Well, no, she shot everything up before she saw that Georgia had made it out of the building. So she's sitting there in the hotel room and crying, and all you see from a different shot are these security guards, these FBI agents that are coming down the hallway towards the room that Charisse is in, and all you hear is some shots. So it's assumed that Charisse was shot by the FBI.
I totally did miss that.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, when I see security guards running, I'm like, are they real guards? Are they the fake guards? Like, who the f are these guys?
Right? No. That was like FBI security that was coming into the tower, because there's a shot out window in a building where everything else is not happening. So clearly something's going on. So they're going to send security up there. Yeah.
They found the cause of the shots.
But I think it's the dynamic between Georgia and Charisse. You know, Charisse is very, and I say this in regards to the character, like very, very female empowered, and women need to stick together and rise up. But she's clearly in love with Georgia, and Georgia, while she likes Charisse and respects Charisse, they're partners. But Georgia doesn't see Charisse as a partner, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, there was no love there.
Right. There was trust, right? She trusted Charisse to have her back. She trusted Charisse to do the job and protect Georgia as best as she could. But it wasn't that reciprocal relationship. So when you get to those points, right, it's an interesting dynamic between the two. And I think it was played very well by both of them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very much.
Yeah. Let's move on to The Tremors, as led by Chris Pine and Kevin Durant and Maury Sterling as the other Tremors here. Let me try and explain. Picture what would happen if 3 steampunk Nazis in 2007 got their hands on all the Red Bull.
It was like Train Spotting.
Yeah. I was thinking almost like a modern day Clockwork Orange, but I can totally see how Train Spotting meets Clockwork Orange between those two. Yeah,
or even oh my gosh, Boondock Saints? No. Formula 51?
I could see a little bit of Formula 51. Yeah. By the way, or the 51st State, however you're going to watch this film, right? It's still the same damn film. Like, these 3 are nihilism incarnate, right? Like, they are there to mess up in the most crazy way possible. Like, they feel like you're playing some post-apocalyptic game, and these are the wastelanders that are coming after you, complete with guns and chainsaws and really crazy laughter. But the fact that it's Chris Pine leading this team, and where Chris Pine's career went after this film, like, we're talking Wonder Woman, we're talking Dungeons and Dragons, we're talking Captain freaking Kirk, right? And yet he works so well in this.
I am happy for him that he had a career. How about the other 2?
Not as big as Chris Pine. Now, it's funny because according to IMDb, apparently Ben Affleck was talking about Chris Pine, said, like, if I had to put any money on anyone doing well in this industry, it's him.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, like it's just so funny that I'm kind of glad it's not Michael Shannon, because that might be a bit more anarchistic as opposed to nihilistic. Like Chris Pine brought fun to it.
I think that's what made him all the more frighteningly psycho, is that he was truly having fun with it. You know, it was genuinely like fun as opposed to just anarchy.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's a bit of a punk, right? But it's not an idiot punk. They're just they are chaos incarnate, right? They are chaos, right? You could imagine, like, any party that these three were at was going to be a rager, and someone was probably going to go to the hospital afterwards. That's kind of how that one feels.
Yep.
Nestor Carbonell as Pasquale Acosta. He's the guy that ended up in the shootout with Ray Liotta in the elevator. They built his character up. So like, yeah, he's this guy who's so insane. He bit his own fingernails off so he couldn't be identified. And then he goes in, kills the security guard, takes the suit, ends up in the elevator with Ray Liotta, who sees the fingers and puts two and two together. And they have this just mutually assured destruction shootout in an elevator. How was Nestor Carbonell as Pasquale for you?
Frightening. I mean, definitely like, it was an intense scene, for sure. It was kind of like, okay, this is not going to end well for anybody.
Exactly. I think the thing too with Pasquale is that if you take a look at all of the assassins in this, right? You've got Hollis and the remains of Ben Affleck and Peter Berg, and they're very bounty hunter business like, right? You've got the Tremors, who are just insane. You have Georgia and Charisse, and there's an interesting dynamic there. They're professional, but one wants to be more than professional. Here you have Acosta, who is, so methodical to the point of, he's got like the wrist shank kind of thing, and the fact that he's the kind of guy who would chew off his own fingernail so he couldn't be identified. Like, this is a serious dude, and he plays it serious to the hilt. Like, that's the thing. It's not everyone being crazy. You have a variety of personalities all gunning for Buddy Israel. Okay, let's step away from the assassins for a second here. Jason Bateman as Rupert Rip Reed, the lawyer who there's a lot of storytelling going on in the setup for that hotel room that he's in. But how was Jason Bateman for you?
Oh my God. I couldn't help but just go, ew. Like, I just couldn't look at him. I mean, obviously he played the part well, but I just couldn't get over that thing on his face. And I'm like, ugh. Well,
let's see.
Bunny head.
Right. The women's lingerie, the fluffy head, the STD sores on his lips. Clearly he's in a hotel room because that's where he's living at that point. Like, there is a lot of storytelling in a short amount of time about a character that we don't really see that much.
Yeah.
But because it's Jason Bateman, because it's someone we recognize, and because it's someone he's not over the topping this, but he's definitely right in the pocket of what this character. And that's the thing too. It's not just the fact that he's probably very, very dirty and not the corrupt way. The kind where you need hand sanitizer after shaking hands with him. But I think it sets up not necessarily himself, but he sets up the character of Jack Dupree and Peter Berg's character and Martin Henderson's character because of their association with him. He's a touch point. Like, this is the kind of person that those three have to deal with to do their job, that kind of sets more, it's more telling their story than it's telling his.
Right. But very well done in that regard.
Oh yeah. And again, it's one of those things where it's subtle things, right? Like clearly he's up on something, he's trying to explain things, and then like Hall starts looking at the rabbit, like, no, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Like it's there's a lot going on there. And not that I want that story explored more, because I think it was the right amount of Jason Bateman in this.
Yes.
Right? But sometimes you need a character in there to tell other people's story as opposed to their own. And I think this is a perfect example of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Joel Edgerton as Hugo, the, for lack of a better term, manservant to Buddy Israel. When I realized it was Joel Edgerton, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like Owen Lars from Star Wars and Obi-Wan? Joel Edgerton? That's him? The what? The interesting thing, though, is that, and again, spoilers like a mofo here. You've been warned numerous times. If you're still in at this point here, then you have accepted your fate. Is that not only does he have to play Hugo, but he has to play someone else disguised as Hugo later on. Because, of course, Hugo gets killed by the guy who's the master of disguise kind of thing. Not Dana Carvey. Not Dana Carvey. But he has to play him differently in different halves of the film. I love when an actor gets to play like that.
I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what's worse, put the mask back on or his actual face.
But the thing is, it's a lot of acting and very minimal, if any, dialogue, right? Like at first it's like he's subservient to everyone. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, like after he's killed and Hugo is now, actually the master of disguise kind of thing.
Wait,
like,
this is the dude in the blue tracksuit, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So because all of a sudden it's the guy who killed him, made the mold of his face kind of thing, and basically started to play him to get access to. He
was super psycho though. Like he had like tools of destruction. Like he had a plan.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the thing. For Joel Edgerton as an actor, he has to play this as two different people, and that's fascinating.
True.
Also in the Penthouse, Common in his film debut as an actor, as Sir Ivy, Buddy Israel's head of security. Again, I love the fact that this is his first film. How was he?
He was great. I mean, that moment where they kind of have words, you know, or his loyalty is questioned. Not his loyalty is questioned, but his almost like the realization that his time was wasted.
Mm-hmm. He put so much into Buddy Israel, and Israel's basically going to sell him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And to everybody else. And I know there was a lot of not fan speculation, but fan wanting of Common to play Jon Stewart as the Green Lantern, you know, from the Justice League animated series to get him into the Zack Snyder verse before everything kind of switched over to the James Gunn universe when that actually starts filming. Seeing the scene, you know, that tense standoff between him and Buddy, this is where I'm like, yeah, oh, he could play such a good, like, simmering, steely Jon Stewart as a Green Lantern. So, James Gunn, make it happen. You have now been told your casting is done. I get you casted Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. You still need a Jon Stewart, and you still have Common. So, make it happen. You've been told. But I love that scene, though, because it's not over the top, right? It's not like he's gone full Denzel Washington in Training Day, right? King Kong ain't got on him, but he doesn't need to say it that way, right? It's just such a slow burn. Now, you mentioned the guy who steals the show, so let's talk about him now. Ryan Reynolds as Richard Messner.
I thought we were heading for Jeremy Piven.
No. The guy who's basically the name of the
Buddy.
film. We're leaving Buddy Israel till the end here.
Okay.
But Ryan Reynolds.
Fair enough. You know what? He was great. And the thing is, I think, again, it's all on my impression. It's all on my, you know how I said the critics are destined for disappointment if they have their own, they go into it with their own expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
The weight of expectations, seeing Ryan Reynolds is like, I expected him to be funny. I so wanted him to be funny. And he was the most serious of all of the characters. Like, he was intensely serious. And it was almost kind of like, I don't know if I felt that I was disappointed by it, but he was just so great. He's such a great actor. Ryan Reynolds just has such a range that he can be incredibly funny or really serious.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, again, let's put this into like a time-based perspective here. So this film comes out in 2007, right? So clearly we're not at Green Lantern level here yet. We're not at, we're not at Deadpool yet. Thankfully, we're not at R.I.P.D. yet. This is still at a stage where, he's able to play with a lot of different things, and I'm just taking a look here. Yes, it's 2 years after Waiting, so we get some of that funny, It's a few years after Blade Trinity, so we had him in that comedic yet still action kind of film. But I mean, you also had him in movies like Van Wilder. Yes, again, more comedy kind of thing. But I mean, later on, like there are some films in his filmography where we're like, wow, this is a really, really powerful performance here. And the movie that comes to mind is 2010's Buried, where he's basically buried alive, and it's a very claustrophobic film. We didn't get to see that before Smokin Aces, but you can see where the serious side of Ryan Reynolds' acting is. He's not always goofy, even though it feels that way sometimes, but it feels more that way now.
I was going to say the Adam Project as well.
Well, and there's the thing, like the Adam Project, you had a little bit of the levity thrown in there to kind of help carry things along a little bit. It almost feels like you can't have a Ryan Reynolds film now without a little bit of that levity. But I think, yeah, in the Adam Project, it was more serious than we were used to at that point. And, if he were to do a serious movie now, it might come as a shock to people. But in 2007, the star was still on the rise at that point.
That's true. And then I have to think about the timing, right? Like, I mean, we watched it, last week. So, again, seeing Ryan Reynolds, I'm like, oh, he's going to be the comedic relief in this.
Nope.
That was far from the truth.
No, he's one of the more serious people in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I absolutely love how he played it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, but the very final Ryan Reynolds scene.
Oh, it was classic.
Fantastic.
Right? And there's the thing too, right? I know I complained a bit when we covered R.I.P.D., right? And how I wanted more fun out of Ryan Reynolds. But in R.I.P.D., it called for it. Here in Smokin Aces, you needed some grounding. You needed some anchoring. And I think that this is where he did very well in keeping an even keel, in being very serious and treating this like the serious case that it is.
Not to mention his partner.
Oh, Ray Liotta, yeah.
Ray Liotta. And, you could tell that they had that bond, like spoilers, but Ray Liotta's death really impacted Ryan Reynolds' character.
It's not really a spoiler because I spoiled that one already.
Well, okay. So,
yeah, we've been spoiling it. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
This whole episode is a spoiler.
But it very much was his turning point.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing too. Like, Ray Liotta as Donald Carruthers, right? He's the more veteran of the two of the partners there. So he's a little bit more looser until it's time to get serious, right? Like when they're sitting in the van, he's the one cracking jokes. He's the one who's, like trying to keep the levity and also trying to maintain control of everyone else on the radios. But once the gravity of the situation becomes apparent, like Ray Liotta goes full business, and that's the thing. It's not like you have good cop, bad cop, or angry cop, happy cop kind of thing. You have two partners who are very comfortable with each other, and when it's go time for both of them. Mm-hmm. And then you have Andy Garcia as Stanley Locke, the head of that detachment, I guess, of the FBI, who is kind of the linchpin to kind of the everything that's going on. And this is where I'm going to try and not spoil the twist, but Andy Garcia as their boss, how was he?
Again, you don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want to go there. We spoiled a lot already. Yeah. So this is the one where I'm like, no, you gotta watch it.
I know. It's again, watch it. Definitely watch the movie. But it's good.
But that moment, when you realize that what all of this led up to, right? And the realization of that to Ryan Reynolds, like there's so much in that moment, and it's how do I put this here? It's really try and picture. And I'm sure there are many people who are listening to this podcast who can probably relate. So try and picture this here. When you were young and your parents were so pissed off at you that instead of yelling, instead of screaming at you and yelling at you to go to your room, they get quiet. Mm-hmm. They get quiet and monotone. And they use all three of your names. God help you if you have more than three. They will use every single one.
And that's when you know it's real.
And every syllable is an earthquake in the pit of your stomach. And it's like this. And you know you f***ed up. And there's no way out of it. A minimum single digit grounding in months is a bonus because the year is around the corner. That's the intensity you get. And right now people are like, oh, yeah, there was that time and I remember, and like you want to run but you can't run because you're frozen with fear because you've never heard them like this. You're trying to remember that moment now in your life, aren't you?
No,
you know exactly what that moment is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone listening right now is like, yeah.
Been there. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yeah. Thanks for the flashback and the trauma. I'll see you in therapy. Exactly. You're welcome. But yeah, like when you get to that moment, Andy Garcia will make you want to go to your room and ground yourself. That's how intense it is. Finally, we get to Buddy Aces Israel as played by Jeremy Piven. How was he?
Well, actually, can I just take a reroute? You're missing a whole other side storyline of the gangster on life support.
Oh, Speranza.
Yeah.
Okay. So how was Speranza? And again, I'm gonna try not to say too much, but how was Speranza for you?
So again, I think it was definitely relevant, though.
It is relevant, but to that end, he really just sat there and looked old and menacing in a way. Right.
I mean, it was mostly done in flashback or just kind of like a fly on the wall.
Yeah. I mean, it's how do I say this? It's performance through presence. Mm-hmm. Right?
And very much, I think a lot of what I love about the style of the script writing on this is that it's very much done in narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
All of the different chapters or all of the different scenes with the different characters that we've just kind of gone through, it almost kind of builds this story, right, as it goes.
Yeah.
And then you get different perspectives from different conversations.
So at Sparaza's command, all of these hitmen, assassins, and contractors are hired to get Israel and bring him to the Swede. That is what Ryan Reynolds and Ray Liotta are working on. Like, this is what they hear over the phone conversation. So they think, okay, like, all these people are gunning for Buddy Israel. So that is the premise that you're getting into. But now, Buddy Israel.
Okay, now I'm ready. Oh my God. So great. I mean, just like an absolute snake. Like, you can tell, right? Even the people closest to him really mean nothing.
Oh, Wayne Newton wanted to punch him.
Like, so yeah, I mean, you see a character like that and just has so much power, yet is just so incredibly ruthless and heartless and just, yeah, it's almost like he played it so well that I really, really want to like Jeremy Piven, because I just always liked Jeremy Piven, but I even found him unlikable, but I really liked him. So he did that incredible of a job.
Yeah, you're not supposed to like Buddy. We don't like Buddy. Congratulations, Jeremy Piven.
Thank you, Jeremy Piven, for making me not like Buddy Israel.
But that's the thing. Like, Buddy's going through this absolute descent into madness, right? Like, the walls are closing in on him. He's trying to basically rat everybody out to save himself, and the walls close in even faster. Like, you're watching him descend, through drug use, through prostitution, through everything, right? Like, he's holed up and he's breaking down, and you get to watch the whole thing. And it's fascinating to see from the beginning of the film, where you see the flashbacks of him, like, living the high life kind of thing, to the point where he's just like at the point of killing himself or considering killing himself, right? Like, that's a journey for this character, and you see the progression, and Piven does a wonderful job of that.
Very, very well done.
Before we get to a couple of points that I have here, Twitter did speak out on this one here. Ray Chavo chimed in with, "I actually enjoyed it. Think it's a fun idea, if not always executed correctly, and some great performances in it." And I completely agree with the great performances. But I'll ask you this one here: is there anything you think was executed incorrectly in this?
Ooh. You're going to have to let me think on this.
Okay. I have some thoughts on this one here, but let's get through the other Twitter chime-ins here. The Movie Duel podcast chimed in with, "Great film, unpredictable, lots of fun, and the makeup job on Jeremy Piven to make him look effed up is amazing. Great ensemble cast as well." And clearly, someone else agrees with the great ensemble cast. The Movie Duel podcast speaks wisely. And yes, like, the visual descent into madness for Jeremy Piven. It's not just, like, oh, I'm crazy. No. You see him decline through the duration of this film. And when you realize, the short time span that all this is going on, that's a whole lot of crazy packed into a short amount of time. The Totally 80s 90s Recall podcast chimed in with, "I love this movie. I've always thought it was highly underrated. So do we, and that's why we're here." And the Itch Rock Radio and podcast chimed in with, "An assassin battle royal? Come on. How do you not enjoy that?" And I like that definition of it, an assassin battle royal.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Going back to Ray Chavo's point, though, about things that were executed maybe incorrectly or not as well as they could have been. Hear me out on this one here. When you watch the trailer for this, it feels like a lot of madcap antics, right? There's a lot of, like, you got the Tremors in there, like, in their craziness. You've got Warren and basically the Ritalin Karate Kid, right? It feels like this crazy, antic hitman type film. But there's a lot of weight in a lot of these scenes, and it's not as crazy as the trailer makes it out to be. So I wonder if the idea of what you're stepping into is altered by the trailer that you watched before going into it.
It's almost maybe like the critics were looking for the pacing of, and I want to think of the perfect example, but whereas this was very slow and methodically paced, I keep drawing back to almost like chapters, like it was written like a book, and you're kind of like checking in at different conversations, different scenes with all the different hitmen and characters, and then there's pieces that kind of tie it all together. Whereas, I don't know, what is a good example? It was almost kind of like...
I have your example for you here.
Yeah, help me out.
Where the trailer seems like it's going to be this, and then you get to the movie and it's really kind of this, right? Free Fire, starring Brie Larson, Armie Hammer, Cillian Murphy, and Sharito Copley. That trailer, and a very similar feel to it, right? You have these people that are going to do this gun deal, and then the gun deal breaks down, and it becomes this, standoff in this warehouse, basically between the gun dealers and the people trying to buy the guns. And the trailer looks so fun and so enjoyable, and like very much like how Smokin Aces feels. And then it's a bit more methodical when you watch it. The other movie that comes to mind, and we watched it recently, and damn if I didn't want to walk out during it, was The Dead Don't Die.
Yes.
Watching the trailer for The Dead Don't Die. And I'm sorry, Jim Jarmusch fans. I'm sorry.
And the actors in it too. You expected more.
I'm sorry if you are a fan of this film, but I'm about to take a big old crap on this film here. Watching the trailer, I'm like, we have to go see this film. You got Bill Murray, you got Adam Driver, you have like this stellar cast, and it looks so kooky and weird and fun. And you get there and you're like, the f*** is this? Like, slow, and the jokes aren't even funny.
For me, that was Lost in Translation.
Well, Lost in Translation was never supposed to be funny, though.
Or, no, Life Aquatic. Sorry.
I love the Life Aquatic.
My apologies. It was so boring.
The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou may be the only Wes Anderson film I will claim to actually liking. Now, that being said, I have not seen Asteroid City yet. But it is very true. You watch the trailer and you expect something, and then you get to the movie and it's like, it's Wes Anderson all over the place. But that's the thing. The trailer did a very good job of reeling the audience in. And I personally think the movie did a very good job of keeping the audience there. But if you went in expecting a bit more chaos and nihilism, and you got a much more nuanced script with a very good twist, then you might have been thrown off a little bit. And I think that's why this film did better in DVD as opposed to like critic scores and whatnot, because those who saw it and liked it were like, I got to watch this again, right? And those who saw it and like, it's not like the trailer, right? That's where the critics are coming in with a preconceived notion. And that's not a good thing. All right. That's my diatribe there. But now it's time. And we got a big cast to pick from here. So Carrie, who is your MVP of Smokin Aces?
You know what? I'm gonna hold strong on this. I'm gonna go with Jeremy Piven.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he just, again, in such a short amount of time, he was able to fall so far from grace, right? And just go completely mad. And I liked the ending scene.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. You really, we spoiled a lot, but we haven't spoiled everything. So you still got to watch this.
Watch it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the end, watch it to the end.
Exactly. Okay. So I had 3 on my list.
You can't do that.
Well, no, hear me out. I had 3 on my list, past tense. And Jeremy Piven was definitely on there for sure. As was Ryan Reynolds. Because it's a very strong performance from Ryan Reynolds, and one that you're probably not expecting, but one that you will really enjoy. But I'm actually going with Alicia Keys.
Really?
Because of all the hitmen, of all the assassins in this, here's the one that looked at the script, got it, and played that part to perfection. Like, if you're looking at the trailer, like the tremors, when you look at the script, while they're necessary, are definitely on the crazy side of things, right? And you can't really look at some of the others because they didn't make it that far into the script. But Alicia Keys, all the way through, not only do you have the progression of character from going into doing the job to realizing just how up a situation becomes, to finding a way out with someone else who is also finding a way out of a crappy situation. Like the fact that it's Common and Alicia Keys getting out of the hotel at the same, and I don't think it's like, it feels like a total like, yeah, hey baby kind of thing. But I think it's one of those things where the two of them, given their situation, their character situations, this was their way out. And they made their way out together.
I love the dynamic, too, that she was there to end Buddy, and yet, and Common's job really was to protect him.
Exactly,
and yet they still wound up together. But again, that was also the failing of the relationship that he had with Buddy. And
to the same token as well, it was the failed relationship, for lack of a better term, between Georgia and Charisse, where, Charisse was very, overbearing, if you will, right? She was all in on the everything, right? And Georgia's very professional, very cool, very calculated. And you saw it in that standoff scene between her and Common and Ryan Reynolds in the stairwell, right? Where it's like, I'm getting out of here, and I'm not going to shoot you, and you're not going to shoot me, and we're going to survive this, because it's that reality. Everything is going wrong at this point, and she's clinging to her calm demeanor as a survival method in that scene, as is Ryan Reynolds. Scored huge points for me in that one scene. But all the way through it. So Alicia Keys is my MVP for this one. Carrie, lovely to have you back.
it's good to be back.
Right? Now, dear listeners, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned, or you think it's so bad that there is no way in heck that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or at our website at NotThatBadCast.com. While you're there at the website, check out our Coming Soon page and our blog so you can keep up on all the movies that we are preparing to talk about, as well as episodes of There Can Only Be One. Until next time, she's Carrie. You're lovely. Listeners, you're lovely as well. This is It's Not That Bad. Take care.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month, so just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.